I'm Rob Licuria, Senior Editor at Gold Derby, here with Three Body Problem star Jess Hong. Jess, your role as Jin in Three Body Problem has become a huge breakthrough for you. So, what has it meant for you so far to be part of this insanely popular and acclaimed show?
Oof. It's been a life change in multiple ways for me because I'd been a few years out of drama school when I first got this gig, and I'd never lived outside of New Zealand. I'd never lived on my own, and I'd never, you know, worked on a project of the scale before. And not only that, but I don't know, I to have like your first big break be something of such incredible substance as well, to have such high quality writing, to have the source material be something epic and well loved, to have writers like Dan, David, and Alex who are really just geniuses, first in my personal opinion, my humble opinion. It's been absolutely overwhelmingly positive, and I'm just so grateful. I'm so grateful that I am this person that I am, having happening to be in the industry at this time. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that pretty much sums it up. It's an international sensation. It's been number one on the charts for Netflix for some time now. And everyone I speak to is like, yeah, I need to watch it. Or, yeah, I've seen it. I loved it. And by the way, everybody, if haven't seen it yet, please go away, watch it, and come back because we're going to do spoilers.
Yeah.
So, how does it now feel to see the show become so successful and for word of mouth to be strong? Because this could be out there in the
Mm,
ether and then be either
mm.
ignored or become a huge failure. But it's certainly not that. So how does that feel for you and the team behind it that it's really resonating?
I, it's a relief personally because it means that all of our collective opinions are not completely wrong, not completely off the target. I knew from the moment I read the first drafts of the script that that this show was something special because I was reading the draft scripts at home alone in my bed, and I was like laughing and crying and like just so enthralled by these characters, the relationships, and of course the epic kind of storytelling at place as well. But what was so important for me was the relatability of these characters and how they engage an audience. And they engaged me in written form. So my only hope was that in its full package, that it would engage people around the world as well.
You
So
know, I
it's
told
cool.
um I told Dan and David and Alex that I saw this over a weekend, but actually come to think of it, I watched the whole season in one day,
Oh,
which is really unusual given that I have to watch a lot of stuff, but this I just
mm,
could not stop watching it. And then I watched it again just to pick up all the pieces that I had missed. And so I mean,
mm,
it goes without saying that the show completely blew my mind.
mm,
Conceptually, it explores a bunch of fascinating ideas about the universe and humanity, and that really
mm.
resonated with me. Did you do a deep dive into Xixing Liu's novels and the show's overall mythology so that you were really grounded in what the creators were trying to achieve?
I had about 3.5 weeks
Yeah.
before from booking the gig and finding out what it actually was. That's when I was told the title of the show, and then to flying to London to start the project. So within those few weeks, I prioritized reading and familiarizing myself with the scripts, which were set in the modern world. It is somewhat of a far adaptation from the books for the fans of the books, but I did read the first book and I skimmed through the third book because actually Jin Cheng's character comes from the third book. And I was blown away by the, the books are so incredible. They're just so intense and existential, and you get totally lost in that whole world and in all those questions. But yeah, for me, doing the show was just focusing on the scripts and the job at hand. And luckily, Dan, David, and Alex are the ones that had to hold the entire umbrella. I was just like one little spike of it.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, that makes sense. You, I'm just also wondering though, like, concepts like the dark forest concept and the answer to the Fermi
Mm,
paradox, the wall faces, the VR game that the ETO designed to lure these amazing scientists into their orbit, all that
mm,
stuff is stuff that I kind of picked up on my second viewing or after reading and listening to other people's
right.
opinions. And I'm just curious if you like, are you a bit of a sci-fi nerd in that way, or is this stuff very new to you?
I would say it's very new, yes. This kind of hard science fiction. I never considered myself a sci-fi fan, but I love films like Arrival. I love shows like Black Mirror that I don't even think of them as sci-fi because they're just incredibly powerful, dramatic pieces. But I love the fact that they set you almost in reality and they just subvert your perception enough that you're like, oh, this could happen to us tomorrow. Like that's what I love, and that's what I love about Three Body as well, is that it's something that could happen to all of us. You could actually see these decisions being made and why they were being made based on the context of the world. Um, but yeah, things like the dark forest theory is something new to me, and that
Yeah,
is simultaneously terrifying and also quite humbling and reassuring because it means that we're not alone. It just means that the universe might not be the magical wonder that we might have always thought in our childhood.
that's right. Everyone is just hiding, lying in wait, hoping that no one
Mm,
notices them. That fascinates me to my core. Like as a complete sci-fi nerd for decades, I've never
yeah.
seen anything like this before, and that's why I'm so excited about
Mm,
talking about it. Um, So I know that when, humanity received its first message from the Santee, it's a warning from a pacifist saying,
mm,
don't,
mm, mm.
don't respond. Yi Wenjie, she responds by pressing the button. Now, I know that this has been talked about a lot, especially with the creators doing a poll on set, whether you would have done it or not. But have you given that any thought in terms of what you would have done if you received that message?
Me as I exist now,
Yeah.
absolutely not. My life is great right now, and I would not want to tamper with it in any way. However, Ye Wonjie, in when I read the first book, she's the one that I definitely held on to and related to the most, even though
Yeah.
I haven't been in, I mean, those incredibly traumatic circumstances that she had to go through. You could just immediately put yourself there and kind of understand her nihilism and her total like hopelessness in that moment. So I think it makes sense why she does it. Me, I would not. I would not.
Because
How about you?
I'm kind of thinking that I might have. Like my curiosity might have gotten the better of me. And so I get why yeah, especially the younger version played by Zine and Sang, it's such a compelling character. I get why she did
Mm,
it. And then of course the older version played by Rosalind Chow is
mm,
so magical. And I just was
mm.
wondering what did you most value about working with Rosalind, getting to know her on set?
Oh my gosh, she's the sweetest demon that you'll ever meet. She's so naughty. She's so unexpectedly naughty. She'll just say the
Yeah.
most like cheeky things and out of nowhere because she is like just such a sweet, lovely human being that always looks out for you. She actually filmed here in New Zealand. Uh, so for like, I don't know, 4 months or something, she was doing Sweet Tooth. And
Mhm.
so we got to hang out both in New Zealand and in London and in the US. So it was amazing. But she's one of those icons that you look up to and you go, wow, you really paved the way so that people like me can come into the industry and we're not expected to um, be, audition for Asian girl number three or girl in bikini in the background,
Yeah.
you know. She had to go through all of that hard yakka before those of us coming after could actually inhabit these incredibly 3D nuanced roles that are not about our race or our gender or anything.
Yeah, I really love that. And this cast obviously is not, they're not all Chinese like in the novels,
Mm,
and it's a very diverse cast, but many of the roles, the main roles are of either of people who are from Asia or generally speaking, their Asian background, like Benedict and Rosalind yourself. And there's no, it's not really a part of the story. It just is what
mm,
it
mm,
is. And I love that. It doesn't really
yeah.
matter. But I mean, how do you feel about that representation? I think we've come a long way. It's probably more to go, but we've come a long way.
Yeah. I love that you brought that up and thank you for noticing that as well because I think it's a show that's trying to engage with people from all corners of the world. And part of that story now is the diaspora and where you originally came from and where your parents immigrated from. That doesn't mean it's not all you are today. And I'm someone that was born and raised in New Zealand, and I do feel I felt growing up with my face that I had to, for some reason, represent my mum's whole culture, even though I never lived in Guangzhou, you know?
Yeah.
Um, so I love that now storytelling has evolved beyond that. Not to say that we didn't need that step as well. And those identity stories are so important for setting the groundwork. But then I think there's room just to tell a story. And it doesn't matter what your face looks like. It's just about people, humanity in
Yeah.
the end.
That's right. And the more the better, honestly. But it did kind of matter a little that you're a Kiwi because when I started watching it, I'm saying to my wife and kids like, oh yes, Rosalind Chow, I love her. She was Keiko in Star Trek and love Benedict Wong. And I'm like, who's Jess? Who's Jess? Never really heard of her before. I'll look her up. Oh, she's a Kiwi. Awesome. We're like neighbors. Um,
Yeah.
but so how did that happen that the character was written as a New Zealander as well?
You know what? This is the magic of the showrunners being the executive producers and the writers because they can make those creative decisions and just enact them instantly. So I met the guys on Zoom call, and it was, let's see, I'd done the self tape and I'd done like a callback audition, and then they wanted to meet me just to chat and get to know me. And they heard my voice and they're like, "Oh, that's a cool accent. Oh my God." And it wasn't too long afterwards where the script started hinting that the character had grown up a bit in New Zealand. I was like, what's going on? And their reasoning was just that my accent's interesting. People don't hear it all the time, especially in America or England. And again, that globalization, that want to engage across all corners of the globe. Um, yeah, they just thought it was a great idea to diversify the cast even more.
I totally agree. Like, I mean, it would have been kind of cool for Marlo to speaking in her Aussie accent, but
Yeah.
that's okay. I can live without that. It's nice to hear New Zealand accents. We don't really hear them that often. And a lot of
Mm.
the time, people are probably thinking, "Oh, she's Australian," so which
Yeah,
must bug the hell out of you. So it's good that we get to hear some New Zealanders on TV. I love that. Um,
represent.
so I have a son who, he's still 13 and he does lots of self-tapes. He's an aspiring actor. And I just
Oh.
wonder, you did that and look where you are today. So I mean, I know it doesn't happen every day, but I was just thinking like, what
Mm,
advice would you give younger people about your journey and how you were able to find such an amazing role or land such an
mm,
amazing role? But obviously it didn't come overnight and it didn't come out of nowhere.
mm. Definitely not. I will say, and I touched on this earlier, I do think success is when preparation meets opportunity. So the opportunity in this case was just out of this world amazing. That's something I should preempt with. But in terms of the preparation, that's me just finding something that I absolutely fell in love with when I was 17 and sticking with it. And it wasn't like I didn't actually know until my early 20s that it was possible to maintain a career in this. When I found out about acting, it was more like a self-help lesson for me to like gain confidence and be optimistic and learn about myself. It was a way for me to reflect and grow as a person. And then it became something that I couldn't stop doing. I was like an itch I had to scratch. Um, so I went to drama school for 3 years. I signed up to like all the social media pages to like hear about anything coming up, and I would say yes to absolutely everything.
Yeah.
I would do, and you do this early on as well. You do the whole like do something for free or for cheap, and then you get exposure or experience. I think that's good to do at the beginning, and then at some point you should then be valued for your time. Um, but just don't stop. If you love it, if you're passionate, just don't ever stop. And you will doubt yourself. There will be insecurity, but that's okay. That's all part of it. As long as you remember that tomorrow you're going to start again and you're not going to give up. So I think that kind of resilience is really, really important to build. And you can do that in multiple ways. You can train, go to drama school, or you can do workshops, or even in other aspects of your life, just anytime that a challenge comes in front of you, have that will to want to overcome it instead of falling back.
Yeah.
So it's a very long-winded answer. Just don't
No,
give up
it's
is my
fascinating. It really is. And of course, you've got hopefully decades to go in your career. And but it's a pretty damn good start. I was thinking like when you see, this is the Untitled Benioff project, it then becomes Dan and David's, follow up to one of the greatest shows of all time. Plus, you have Alex
Mm.
Wu, who was so instrumental in True Blood, which back in the day was so groundbreaking. I'm
Oh
just
yeah.
curious, what do the three of them bring to the table that you most valued and learnt from on this
Mm.
experience?
Oh, I actually talked about this recently at the New Zealand Big Screen Symposium. They are shockingly some of the most laid back people I've ever met. I was very, very nervous going to that first Zoom meeting, and then they just totally uh, took took my guard down. Like, no, I just want to get to know you, and they have this kind of slow way of just talking, just to get the substance. They're not in any rush, and it's crazy because they got to keep the whole ship afloat. But
Yeah.
on set, if you were to be like, okay, who is in charge of keeping everything running and making sure this is a success? And nobody would pick out them, except for the fact they're in their own special black tent. But
Yeah.
apart from that, they're just like um, so cool. And I guess the main thing I get from that is you don't have to push people in order to achieve the results. And even at that level that they're at now, um, you don't have to give up collaboration and having artistic dialogue with all your counterparts. They're constantly in discussion. We were constantly reshooting things. They were constantly rewriting. It was all very fluid. I remember one time I had a conversation with, I think it was David, who I was like, "Hey, are you like afraid at all? Because isn't
Yeah.
this supposed to be the unadaptable series of our generation?" And he was like, "Yeah, of course, but if you're not afraid, you're not doing something right." Which said to me, again, touching on challenges, overcoming challenges, never giving up. Do the thing that freaks you out, because that's where you're going to find the most growth and the most um, satisfaction at the end, no matter the results.
You know what? That's 100% right. I think you've hit the nail on the head. Is why I admire them so much because they would have been under some pressure to follow up, bloody Game of Thrones with
Mm.
something that is so difficult. They could have done something way easier to adapt and look at the result. It's so good. Um, it's so damn good. Anyway, on that note, Jess, thank you so much for your insight. And congrats on some really great work in season one. Hurry up and make season two, would you? I can't wait much longer.
Email Netflix. Let's get it.
Go on,
We want
Netflix.
more. We want
We
more.
want more. Agreed. All right. Well, thanks
Oh,
again.
no, thank you so much. It was fantastic talking to you.